In case you missed it, let's go over all the 2023 season live coverage changes because it is a lot and it is certainly not getting talked about enough. And this will certainly make a huge change for the trajectory of disc golf forever. Just a small note, I've noticed that about 93% of you aren't subscribed, but you are watching my videos. So if you like this content, make sure to subscribe. All right, first up, lead card for FPO will be going to JOMEZ for the duration of the season. Now, this is certainly crazy because JOMEZ has only done maybe like a handful of FPO rounds ever. So to see them committing themselves to the entire season for lead card will certainly provide a lot of utility and a lot more exposure to FPO because there are some amazing players and some amazing throws that most people just don't even notice because if you don't watch live coverage, you really don't see many of the FPO shots, and there's really not that many great ways to watch it if you're not watching post-produced on certain channels. And when you're watching non-JOMEZ cards, it is just clear that the level of professionalism and effort in editing is just not quite the same. It's not to say that they're bad, but nothing can really compete with JOMEZ for post-produced. So seeing that FPO is making a change towards JOMEZ just makes a huge amount of growth in the sport, and it shows that FPO is here to stay and that these cards will be covered a lot more and get a lot more eyes on them because these are certainly players that are worthy of watching. Next up, DGN has upped their prices. So while you can get 50% off if you're a PDGA member, you still have to pay a little bit more than last year. So the prices went from about $12 to $13, and the annual rate went from $99 to $129. So there's really no incentive to get the annual. I don't think people are really watching year round. So you really just want to pay month to month. But more than that, it shows that they believe people are willing to pay extra for the live coverage. So they really believe in their product. I will say there's been many streams over the course of 2022 and 2021 where I felt that my live stream payments have really not been worth it. I have tried to watch and it is worse than like a slideshow sometimes. I get 144p coverage, and with that, there's just a lot of dropouts. I love how they're committing to improving the product again and again. It has certainly become something that is a lot more watchable, but seeing that they're upping their prices when so many people are already not willing to spend is a little bit obstructive. That's their prerogative, and if they believe that they can make it work with a higher price tag, then good on them. Next up, to go along with that, every single round will get live coverage. That's right. Instead of just getting final day coverage of the lesser events, every single round will be live streamed. And this is probably the craziest thing of the entire list of changes for the 2023 season. If you want to watch any lead card, you will have the ability to watch it. And having live coverage allows you to watch chase card, lead card, even third card sometimes. They may not have as many cameras for those smaller tournaments, so it may just be lead card, but knowing that you will be able to watch live streams of every single round just really impacts the ability to really actually care about Silver Series. I know they're not calling it Silver Series, but I don't care. It's Silver Series. It allows you to really care about these events that don't ultimately matter. Like Tour Series points are cool, but who really cares? The prize money is like, whatever. But these tournaments are really cool to watch. They have a lot of uniqueness. A lot of these tournaments have never been played before. And I find that ultimately almost more interesting than any Elite Series. That might be a hot take, but there's so many times where I'm watching a tournament and I'm like, I've already seen this like 10 times. I know what shots they're going to do. You really can't surprise me that much. When it comes to brand new Silver Series events, I am very enthralled to see what shots are going to happen and how they're able to tackle a hole in a brand new way. And with the onset of new players entering the sport and new shot shapes, it is just so cool to see how they tackle every hole. Obviously, you have the downside that there's less competition on these Silver Series, so that's a bit of a downside. But with that, it is still really cool. My one big concern here is that I have seen some terrible coverage, some terrible cell reception. So for them to commit to every single round being live, I certainly believe it to be true that there will be so many rounds where it's almost worse than it was last year because you have places where there's just no cell reception, and I don't know how you get around that because a lot of the tournaments are not changing locations, and if they had cell reception problems last year, I am sure that they'll have them again this year, but they committed to it, so we'll see what happens. Next up, YouTube live streams are changing from final round to first round. I think this is certainly a smart move to make more money for DGN, but ultimately not a smart move for the growth of the sport. I think there are so many times where even me as a paying subscriber did not want to watch final round on DGN It is a terrible platform. I don't ever intend to use it. I see YouTube as the gold standard, and if you're ever deviating from the gold standard, then I pretty much do not want to watch it. I will sacrifice the stream quality to watch on Vimeo, but ultimately I much prefer YouTube. And if it's final round, I do not want any cutouts. I don't want any drops. I don't want the stream to start getting shaky just because there's a peak viewership towards the very end of USDGC. Are you kidding me? Please don't let that happen again. But if you are a paying subscriber, this really won't mean that much difference to you. It's ultimately the same experience that you're probably going to get if you watched just DGN the whole duration of every tournament. But for me, even as a paying subscriber, I really liked watching YouTube, and it allowed me to skip and cut to the very end of rounds before they were published. And losing that actually is a huge downside. So while I do think this is a good profit motive, it is ultimately a bad experience for everyone. And a small note here is that if you are a paying subscriber, you do have access to every major this year. There is no weird fees for certain majors or blackouts. You actually will be able to watch every single major if you have a paying subscription. Lastly, all Silver Series events will be recorded on Central Coast Disc Golf. I really like this because this is truly the heart of disc golf. I know that JOMEZ used to be a very basic operation, but you don't really get that feel anymore. It's a lot more edited. There's a lot more going on, and it's for the best. But I love that Central Coast is just kind of like, we're just watching disc golf. We're not doing interviews. We're not doing a bunch of music. It's kind of just like, yeah, we're vibing, watching disc golf, not trying to joke too much, just having a good time. And Ian and Philo's chemistry is just very palpable, and it makes for a very fun viewing experience. So getting to see that they'll actually continue to be able to post on Central Coast is just amazing. Some of my favorite rounds have been recorded on Central Coast, and knowing that that will be continuing, even if it is Silver Series, is still really cool. All right, so that wraps it up. But I have to say, these are major changes. This will certainly have a ripple for the duration of 2023 and for years to come. There's so much here that we're not even going to be able to know the scope of until it actually happens during the season. So getting to see the reality of the situation and if DGN actually holds true to their word is going to be very interesting. I'm certainly hoping that they provide a great product, and for the most part, they have done a great job so far, but I am a little bit scared about what is to come. I really want this to be a fun viewing experience because I'm ultimately going to be watching pretty much every round. And if I have to have poor buffering on Vimeo or have just 144p when you're in an area that has poor reception, that's just going to be awful. So I'm really hoping that they don't have those issues. We will certainly see how it turns out. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure to subscribe. Wild Runs signing out. Peace.